It's the old Doctor Who show, episode number 25, The Pirate Planet.
Go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine.
You couldn't control my mind before, and you certainly can't control it now.
Would you like a jelly, baby?
The TARDIS, when working properly, is capable of many amazing things.
Reverse the polarity of the neutron flows, but the TARDIS will be free of the force field.
But the TARDIS is more than a machine. It's like a person, you see.
Resulting reaction, describe it. Are you ready?
Welcome back to the old Doctor Who show, your classic Doctor Who review podcast. I am your host, Eric.
And I'm your other host, Dan.
And we're here today to talk about...
this little thing called life.
Life and how babies are made.
Oh.
Dan, how have you been?
Episode. I've been okay. Things are good. Loving the fact that the weather's kind of turning into the right season. So that's cool.
It's really rainy and miserable here. Where are you at?
Key West? No. A couple miles north. You know what's really great about a podcast is to talk about
Map
the
fans?
weather.
Well, hey, you can link it right into Google Weather, Google Maps. And they can really experience the whole thing. All right, let's get off this junk. We got a bunch of little things to talk about before we get into the review. We have 3 pieces of viewer mail to read, which is a first for us. We've never had that many.
That's
and
amazing.
I know you also have a little bit of news about streaming. And I know
Let's
it's
put
not
news
real news
in really strong air quotes.
in quotes. There was something.
Somebody
wrote something somewhere, and you saw the link and went, hey, check this out.
That's
we
a
still
thing.
don't know anything.
Yeah. Well, hey, way to spoil it.
All right, so first
Go
off,
for it.
let's go right to the letters. This one comes from Chuck, who's written us in the past. So thank you again, Chuck, for writing. He writes, another great episode, guys. Super nice. Question. What was the song you played at the end? Now, for fans of the show that have listened to the show, I always try to put a song in the end of it before it goes to the Where's My Robot tag at the end. And here's another trivia question. If you can figure out who is saying Where's My Robots, you'll know a little bit of something about Dan and I.
If you guys can figure that out, you get to be the official third chair on the show.
That is taken from someone. I've altered the sound, but that's all you're going to hear about
It's
that.
a classic.
It is a classic. So anyway, the song was Death Cab for Cutie, Codes and Keys. I always try to make the song somehow connected to the episode in some way, either the title of the episode or something we mentioned.
It's a very all things NPR, all things considered thing for you to do. It's
just about every single one is it has some kind of meaning. I think there was maybe one time where it was
we got a little.
what I was
We got Crispin Glover in there. We
do, yeah. So it's all over the place.
Fan favorite.
Yeah, so yeah, that's actually a fun part of making these podcasts. All right, and then also he corrects us on something we said, because if you remember last time, we were discovering the fact that Dirk Gently was a series on the BBC in real time, where I thought it was a series coming, and then I thought it was a thing that just happened. Well, Chuck sets us straight.
Yep.
And basically he writes, by the way, the Dirk Gently series you mentioned was from 2010, so it's quite old, and it gets shown on the BBC now and again. So it's been out for years.
So I'm immediately going to see if I can find that, because
so if you've watched it before, great. You know, I had mentioned I thought that I heard news about a new series, and I was correct.
Okay,
and that I guess there is a new series, which is probably an American one, that's written by Max Landis. Oh. And then it has Elijah Wood, Hannah Marks, and Samuel Barnett in it. So that's what he wrote.
And that's a new Dirk Gently, you're saying?
That's what he wrote. He said the new series written, Dirk Gently, written by Max Landis, blah, 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 blah. So there you go.
Interesting.
Little something for you.
Hey, and it ties into this episode that we're reviewing, and we got a Douglas Adams episode.
It's true.
I think that's where it all came from, but
that's where it
cool
sparked this whole thing that people have been waiting patiently for the new podcast to come out. Like, they solved that mystery.
Solved.
Second letter we got was from the editor of the Gallifrey Guardian, which is the newsletter for the Guardians of Gallifrey, who are celebrating their 30-year anniversary in June. So congratulations to you, women and men of the Guardians of Gallifrey.
And they are a fan group located in Florida, is that right?
I think so.
Yeah. So that's awesome, guys. 30 years.
So,
well, it's basically the same. We got it like a year and a half. So it's,
we're
basically
just about
the same thing.
almost there.
Yeah, I mean, clearly.
Who's next? Richard Forster?
Yeah.
Richard Foster. Yeah. So Richard writes in, and he just says he wants to say thank you for doing the show. Thank you for listening to the show. He grew up watching classic Doctor Who on PBS, and he loves reliving all those episodes. A few episodes ago, we were wondering if a companion died. And I remember
this. Good.
Yeah, it was a while back, and I think we weren't sure, or we came to the conclusion maybe no one had.
Yeah, I had just assumed with absolutely no evidence whatsoever, right. Which is how I roll.
And Richard heard that, and he was like, wait a minute, fellas.
Totally corrected us here.
Adric, the companion of the Fifth Doctor, which we haven't gotten to, died trying to stop a spaceship from hitting Earth. Now,
spoiler alert.
For me, like as soon as I read this, I was like, now I know how it's going to die. He's going to die.
I did read that
now
one.
I just spoiled it for anybody listening.
Yeah. I mean, I read that on TARDIS Wiki. You know, I dive into that thing and go deep every time. I end up clicking article after article, and I do remember reading that, so thank you for the correction. Can't wait to get to that episode if we're actually reviewing that one and seeing why it is they thought it was a good idea to kill that character. Yeah,
he doesn't. I don't think he mentions. Richard did not mention which episode. So,
well, it'll be the last one with.
I'm not going to look anything up now. I know he died.
He bites it.
Okay. He also put a little trivia in this for us. A little trivia for you. He wrote.
Yeah.
How is the sound of the TARDIS materializing originally made? I'm going to throw that to you, Dan.
I could not find anything in my 3.5 minutes of looking.
I didn't do any research at all. I read the question. I was like, oh, that'd be interesting for me to think about live on the podcast. But I figured you probably would because you are definitely more of the research.
Yeah, no, I totally fell down on the job this time, guys. So you're welcome.
So we don't know? We don't actually know?
The answer is no one can know. It's impossible to know.
It's one of those mysteries. Nobody knows. They don't even know at the BBC.
I think it was the recording of an actual TARDIS. I'm pretty sure that it's real. Right. So that
makes sense. Yep. So thank you, Richard. Oh, Richard also said, P.S. Somewhere I have the movie of the Eighth Doctor on VHS, which we talk about a lot, the Fox movie, recorded. He's maybe able to transfer it to DVD, in which case he would send us a copy, which that is great that you would do that.
That's super nice, but I'm totally going to buy that son of a gun when we get there.
I was going to say that. We're going to end up. I think it'll be the last thing we do for this podcast, and then it's double suicide. I think that's the only way to go after you watch Eric Roberts as the Master.
Well, that's the thing for me. I'm going to buy it just because I need to complete my Eric Roberts collection, the Criterion collection.
Right. Oh, so, I would love the Eric Roberts collection. But anyway, I absolutely, Richard, thank you. And if anybody ever wants to send us anything, you can send us stuff. I have a P.O. box. I set up a P.O. box for the comic I did, Planet Gigantic, where you can send in for like a membership card or whatever. Very rarely anybody sends anything. Mm-hmm. The thing is always just full of junk mail. So if you ever want to send Dan and I something, which I would love, Dan's sort of like you send me anything. I want to get weird stuff. Yes, I mean, not like creepy stuff, but you want to send me like,
hey, one man's creepy is another man's weird.
Yeah, it's P.O. Box 2131, Red Bank, New Jersey, 07701. I paid for it.
Get your pencils out.
Get your pencils out.
Do you want to repeat that again? We'll put that in the notes.
You can rewind this.
We'll put in the notes of the episode.
You can send us anything. Obviously, you can also email us at the old Doctor Who show at gmail.com. We love getting things. Appreciate it, Richard.
It absolutely
As Dan
makes my
said,
day.
We're going to buy it, so there's you don't need to send us a copy of it.
But you will need to watch it when we're
that was very
reviewing
nice that you did offer that.
It's going to be so good.
And that does it for our viewer mail, right? We got Richard, we got Chuck, and we have Bob. So thank you, the three of you. If anyone else wants to write in, as I mentioned before, as we both mentioned before, we will read it on the air. So if it's something you don't want us to read, just write, don't read this.
Yep.
And then if you're going to do that, you might as well cut it out of newspaper and send us the letter to the P.O. box I just gave you.
But we will read that. I think we do have another star review on iTunes.
Oh, we do?
No text. So it's the number one.
Oh, well, I'll
which
take
is cool.
that.
This is awesome. Yeah. I like it. We do have a little bit of non-news regarding the streaming service. The Nerdist.com was reporting that BBC is actively working on a new streaming service. We kind of knew that whenever this whole thing erupted, that we lost all of our Classic Who on Hulu and Amazon and Netflix, etc. So it's confirmed, but there are no details. The only thing that actually is a little worrying is that, according to the reporting, it is still in early stages.
Yeah, so it's going to be
this point,
another year at least.
At
probably.
least. And who knows what's actually going to be included. It seems like it's going to be, the speculation is, it's the entire BBC catalog from the BBC and ITV networks.
Right.
So that's awesome.
But
that
doesn't
necessarily mean anything
either,
Nope.
right? It doesn't say if it's going to be North America or...
It doesn't say if anything's region locked or anything like that. So who knows what's going to happen.
Let me ask you, would you pay for that?
Maybe.
Right.
It's hard to say because, I'm buying episodes. On iTunes, they call each of these stories a season. So I'm buying 4 episodes at once to review these because I'm an idiot and don't go back to the DVD service of Netflix like I really ought to.
That's $5 a month, man.
Yeah.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah. Which I could just do and get the service and have all. I don't know.
I don't mind paying for things.
I don't
just
either.
That they start adding up where you have, like, I got Hulu for Doctor Who.
Right.
So maybe I would cancel that. I don't know.
I got the Plus. I got Hulu Plus for Doctor Who because I couldn't watch the commercials while trying to review the things.
Right. I have the same one.
It's killing me. But maybe I don't do. I don't know.
But who knows? Hey, if whatever.
Anyway,
let us know your thoughts if you want to write that in a manifesto of some kind that you're going.
Again,
to,
you can send it to the PO box.
Go to
what was
Kinko's and photocopy and then send it to our PO box along with the finger of your lover. No, don't send.
Those are the things you say. And then
we don't want any body parts.
Then the police are involved again.
Yeah, I'm making a joke that it's a federal
horrible,
crime with the
horrible joke. Not even remotely.
We don't want that. We don't. If you want to send DVDs are fine.
Let's not make any suggestions. Things not to send. That which is illegal.
All right. While we talk about illegal activity that some may say are committed by pirates.
Oh.
That
was pretty good.
I'm reaching here.
No,
should we get into the pirate planet?
Sure, let's do it.
You have nothing else?
I mean, after that breaking news, no, I think I'm good.
All right, hit the switch, my friend.
Got it.
Who's Newton?
Old Isaac, friend of mine on Earth. Discovered gravity. Well, I say he discovered gravity. I'd give him a bit of a prod.
What did you do?
Climbed up a tree.
And?
Dropped an apple on his head.
Ah, and so he discovered gravity.
No, he told me to clear off out of his tree. I explained it to him afterwards at dinner.
There's the TARDIS, Doctor.
Going into land?
We'll never make it.
It's the pirate planet. What? All of a sudden, like, every life decision that I've ever made just hit me. Like, what am I, 41? I'm yelling with this high-pitched, annoying voice. It's the pirate planet, guys. Jeez, what have I done? While searching for the second segment to the key to time, the Doctor and Romana set the TARDIS to land on the cold and boring Califrax. When they arrive, however, they find a vastly different planet with a prosperous civilization seemingly led by an authoritarian, that's a tough one, ruler called the Captain, and terrorized by a group of wandering telepaths. This is written by Douglas Adams, directed by Pennant Roberts, and it's the second story of season 16 in 1978.
Yes,
That's the Pirate Planet. What did you think of the Pirate Planet, Dan?
This is a really, really fun episode. There's so many crazy things happening in this episode.
Yeah, there's a lot going on.
There's a mix of kind of genre a little bit. There's so many crazy characters, so many over-the-top performances.
Yeah, so, some would say so over-the-top that it almost kind of ruined the whole thing for me. Like
it would have.
I thought the Captain was terrible.
Oh, God, he was so good. So bad.
Really?
So bad,
Okay.
so good.
See, I felt he was so bad that it was just kind of bad.
Just bad.
Like, it was just too much. Like, his whole costume looked to me like a late generation G.I. Joe figure.
Uh-huh.
Like, after they've already done the Refrigerator Perry as now on the Joes or whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
The costume design I thought was just really corny and terrible,
Yes.
and his performance was so
Scene
over the
chewy.
top and scene chewy, and for me it kept this
It was so
story
false.
from being great.
Yes.
Like, and I loved the script. I thought it was very funny. The idea of a planet eating other planets was so
Right.
cool, and like everything
and then you
was
add
great.
into it the whole telepath thing, which is not something you
Yeah.
really explore at all in the Doctor Who universe. To my
No, that
knowledge,
was really
there's not a lot
cool.
of that.
Yeah.
You had, the reveal that the nurse or whatever her name was actually the one was the
Queen Zanzia,
which was pretty amazing. I mean, there's a lot going on. He was ridiculous. So the story opens and you have an exterior shot, which is miniatures of the bridge, and the first thing I'm thinking is like, wow, this is really good, especially coming from the Sun Destroy. What was the episode we did?
Sunmakers?
Yeah, that's the
Sunmakers,
one.
yes.
God, guys, I have absolutely no memory
I like
whatsoever.
The Sun Destroyer.
Sun Destroyer is nice. But the Sunmakers, where the exterior of the models just looked ridiculous. They were so bad the whole time. This looked really great. So it's like, oh, this is going to be great production value. And then one of the first things you see is that robot parrot on his shoulder that he's stroking.
Yeah.
And I literally
fun.
out loud
Sorry,
to an empty room said, oh, God.
Yeah. And he looked like I mentioned this on Facebook, like a cyborg Steve Ballmer, like the main dude. And that weird thing, anytime you put something under somebody's nose, it just always never really works for me. Like
that was horrible.
With
and they had the fluorescent little visor on the side. And
now, speaking of that, I was looking on Tumblr for photos or just things related to this episode.
Yeah.
Because it was on my mind, And I did see somebody put two pictures side by side of Cyborg Steve Ballmer, Captain Dude, and underneath that, the Viking from season 9, the girl who died. Do you remember the Viking that plays Odin, that's in the sky demon?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. It has the same eyepiece. Like, I don't know if that's a callback or somebody just spotted it, but the fact that he's constantly referring to this sky demon.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy in the sky that looks like the costume is similar.
You had said
I just thought that was cool.
You had said you kind of saw a connection to the current Who. I thought you were going to refer to the one.
And I didn't come up with this.
The one with the 11th Doctor. The one with the 12th Doctor, Capaldi, and the moon is actually an egg.
Yes.
And I was thinking,
yes,
maybe
I remember that.
Which not
that
an
was
episode
a weird,
I ever want to talk about again.
Yeah, I remember that being sort of like, what? All right, and then it
was good up to that point, and it's like, oh,
underneath.
There's all the spiders. Anyway, and this is not a review of that. So.
Yeah,
one
anyway, I
of the things
just want to bring that
right
up because I thought that was like, because he constantly does refer to the Sky Demon, and you talked to me
by the curved fangs of the Sky
you
Demon.
wanted to do like a super cut.
There has to be a super cut of this. If I have the ambition, maybe I'll try to go to it. He's ridiculous. So his overacting was ridiculous, but by the end of the story, I was like, all right, that's cool because I don't know.
Well, he has a nice twist too, where he's sort of also plotting to kill the queen, like this whole time she's sort of manipulating him, but he's actually working on a very smart way to destroy her.
Right.
If we want to get into that. The Mr. Fibule,
his assistant.
His assistant. He was awesome. Like I thought the actor that played him did a great job, and it was this really well sort of.
What's so funny about that the aesthetic on the bridge especially is, did it not feel very much like it was influenced by Star Wars? Like like it was a mix of Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica, sort of that 70s era sci-fi. I mean, maybe some Star Trek a little bit because of the consoles in the back, but so look, Star Wars came out in 77, this was in 78, so it's totally possible. But with the kind of military-ish uniforms that they're wearing, and I don't know, that felt very Star Wars to me, and kind of the stormtroopery aesthetic to the masks. It just felt very, very much of that time. Yeah.
Well, the whole their troopers or their bad guys look like these weird sort of S&M people,
you got hoods on,
black
kinda
leather. Like at any minute they should be jumping on motorcycles, and it was very
very
weird art. The art direction was very sort of strange, and they're also playing up the whole. They're pirates, so he's the captain, and there's a whole pirate thing going on.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, it was cool. I thought the script was great,
but it didn't feel like.
I just didn't love the execution of the.
Of that one character, yeah, the one performance.
Yeah.
Did it feel like a very Douglas Adams type script to you?
I'm not that familiar with Douglas Adams.
Okay.
I mean, I read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in high school, I think, or in early college. But that's
Go back and
pretty
reread
much
it. It's still great.
I loved it, but I don't like. We talked about Dirk Gently. I haven't read Dirk Gently.
Yeah.
And I think I probably saw. I know he did a couple of Monty Python sketches that I'm sure I've seen because I've seen most of the Flying Circus stuff. But I'm not a super Douglas Adams guy.
I wouldn't say I'm super well versed in it, but it just didn't feel like from the books that I've read and the things I've seen, it just doesn't have that kind of zaniness that he tends to have. Especially his use of language tends to be really particular and very funny.
Well, so I did read that it was he had done 2 scripts prior to this where they were like, this is not working, and eventually they got to this.
Well, apparently this one got very, very edited. It was a much more convoluted story that seemingly has nothing to do with actually what resulted in this episode. So I feel like
he was new to
television
too. Yeah, he hadn't written much television, and I had read that Hitchhiker's Guide, the radio show, happened at the same time that he was putting this together, right?
So he's working on both simultaneously, which almost makes it feel like maybe it would have been more similar. But, TARDIS.wikia does have some notes on some similarities between the two, reusing some phrasing between Hitchhiker's Guide in this episode and something like that, which is kind of cool, but it still didn't feel like a very Douglas Adams sort of aesthetic to me. But still loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it had enough comedy in it too. Like there was some absurdness, a lot of absurd. Like the parrot versus K9.
The parrot thing is
ultimate fight. The parrot was ridiculous.
So okay, do we want to go in any sort of order, or do we just want to jump into?
I don't know, because we also have to talk about how they wrote in the Doctor slamming his face to have a reason for the space herpes, which we know is a dog attack, but I will refer to it as
quote unquote dog attack. No, it's still space herpes, man. How long does it take?
I love that they had that scene.
He got bitten on the face, quote unquote, while filming the Ribos operation.
Yeah.
And this is weeks later, and that cut's still there.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
That's a herpes sword, dude. That is nuts. So this is The Keys to Valtrex is the name of this series. So they had to write in the whole thing with they were trying to land and they couldn't, and it started shaking around, so he hits the console and the big gash on his fucking face.
You get the gash on his face. Space herpes. And you also realize on the planet, the ages of prosperity, so they have diamonds everywhere, and they have, when they land, they're talking to a resident of the civilization. And one of the items they find is that Olean, which looks like a child made an ashtray for someone, and that's what they find on the ground. And they're like, "Oh, this is so beautiful!"
People would kill for that beauty.
Yeah, that's a special child's ashtray that you're holding.
It means something to someone. So there are a couple things that we learn in this episode. That apparently the Doctor's been operating the TARDIS for 523 years, which is kind of cool at this point, which is kind of awesome. And that I guess you find this out all the time, but this multi-loop stabilizer and synchronic feedback circuit that he never uses. And it's just so funny. So Romana's there with this giant tome of a manual that she's reading and tells him they should be doing this, and he just rips the page out. It gets referred to later in the new series that the Doctor had thrown the manual out because he disagreed with it. So it's the same sort of character. Yeah. But just those little details about his life on the TARDIS. Why did he put the first piece of the key in a boot in a fridge? I don't know. Okay.
I feel like they just because it's another complaint about this whole key to time thing. It's so like the connection to the key to time is so tenuous. Such an afterthought. Yeah. I mean, you don't even see them find the second piece in this series. They mention it's going to fly off after the thing at the end, and they'll pick it up later. Right. So it's like, and I feel like they just added that to remind you that it was a connected to it, and it was a funny gag to put it in a boot. Yeah, I'm not really wondering why he did that. It was just it was an absurd thing to do. He polishes it first, and then puts it in a boot, and then puts it in a fridge. Yeah, but it just feels like I don't know. I feel like it should have been maybe more connected to. I don't know what order this was. A script written before, and then they just shoehorned it into being part of this whole.
I mean, that definitely happens even in the current series, especially in the Moffat era. There'll be scripts that were going to be in one season and came into another. That happened with the Neil Gaiman episode of that Planet Home. House of the Planet.
Right.
It was supposed to be in the previous season, and then, the showrunner just comes in and reworks a bunch of it.
And
but at least it feels more like of a piece, and it's like, oh, I can see where, like, it's given a fair amount of screen time. Considering there's only an hour-long episode now, and you can still fit that in here, it's just like, oh yeah, we forgot that thing. Can we do a pickup scene real quick where we mention the key?
I just can't even believe they don't even find it in this episode.
It's not even
it's like we'll just pick it up later. Which is, I mean, they mention it enough, and the planet itself, spoilers, is the segment.
What?
And then you've got the Mentiats, which we talk about too, and like that whole thing was so weird. Like just those guys, just that image of those guys walking around using their mind power, and the fact that they are able to, what's the guy's name? Prelix, right?
Yeah, Prelix, yep.
He's sort of having this weird seizure, and they're coming to get him, and everybody's sweating. Just
it's the
lots
70s.
of sweating in the 70s going on.
Yep. But I thought it was really cool when they revealed, like, oh, he's a rogue telepath. They explain later that it's whenever, the life force of the planet gets crushed.
They're absorbing all of the
all the wavelengths come out. So there's like a science explanation for the fact of why they're telepaths, which is cool. I mean, I don't think they ever really talk about that phenomena anywhere else in Hood'em. But yeah, so you have Prelix sweating and confused, and they come after him. But then they're kind of leisurely marching through the fields to come to the city to find him.
They must have had an extended amount of footage of people leisurely marching through that field, because you also get it later on when you have Romana, who's in her pink lady attire and white. Did you see her shoes? She's got these high heels on, and they have her walking around like these fields full of giant rocks. I felt bad for the woman.
That's horrible.
But there's lots of this episode, as much as there's lots of stuff going on, there are
there's a lot of nothing going on too.
Boring, where there's nothing, there's just people walking across a field.
Yes,
and you're like, okay, I guess that's happening.
So you had this troop of like a dozen of them, the Mentiads coming across the field,
and then you had Mentats too, which are the human computers from Dune.
Oh yeah.
So I kept getting that confused.
I keep thinking of Mentos.
Not that. No, Mentos. That's true. That would have been a good way to get out of it. The old bite and chew while
smile and walk. But instead, they're pursued by like 3 guards with guns. Who? Okay, so I couldn't figure out
guards and the guns.
I couldn't figure out, could they not shoot straight, or was it their telekinetic powers that were preventing them from getting shot? I was like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. No, they're horrible shots.
They can't. Well, there's a scene later on when the Doctor and Romana exit the bad guy lair. And Kemis is there, and he takes out the 3 guards. But there's like 5 minutes of them just making laser sounds with nobody getting hit, and then Kemis just kills them.
A single shot. Well, same with Romana too. She's a one-shot kill.
Surrounding him, and he's just pew, pew, pew. Like they're just sitting there going pew, pew, pew.
They're not actually shooting at all.
They're actually just making the sound. That's why they have the masks.
I gotcha.
Over their face. It's just ridiculous. Some of the stuff, like the flying cars too, that look like speedboats.
Okay.
I guess they were speedboats.
Yeah, that was pretty.
There was like a little spot on the side to put quarters in for the thing that
it just rocks
go back and forth. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was cute. The Doctor luring away the guard with the jelly babies, and the guard just looking at his feet the whole time as he's following. He's following a trail of jelly babies, not looking up the whole time. Because if he takes his eye off one of those jelly babies, it may run away. Who knows? He could get lost.
They're surrounded by diamonds and Uliad or whatever, but they love.
It's the jelly babies. Man.
Have you ever had jelly babies?
Aren't they just jelly beans?
No, they're not quite like gummy bears. They're more like fruit slices.
Okay.
They're like much more chewy than they are sort of rubbery.
Gotcha.
They were good. I forget. I ordered them from Amazon because I was like, I gotta try what.
Okay, I just assumed they're jelly beans. I didn't know that. I am learning today, guys. So we're gonna put an affiliate link on Amazon. So if you buy jelly babies, we'll get a kickback.
If I get one thing out of this dumb podcast, somebody's sending me something.
All right, so we're in agreement then that the guards are just
ladies.
horrible shots.
Yeah, but that was just so stupid.
idiots.
Like there was lots of things like that were stupid. I mean, you talked about the parrot look like a cheap version of Bobo from Clash of the Titans. Like that.
Yeah.
Whole,
That thing was amazing. That was some really
amazing.
great animatronics.
I will not never
and,
talk negative about.
Never.
Clash of the Titans.
Don't. Yeah, that.
But it was funny. Like as dumb as the parrot was, it was kind of cute and charming in a way.
It was unintended funny though. That was
canine versus
because that thing goes on for a solid minute.
It went on too long.
It went way long. But then you have so many reaction shots. So there's you guys have seen this. I'm not spoiling anything. There's a fight between Canine and the bird keeps flying back and forth in the room, flying. It's horrible. And there's all these cutaway reaction shots to everyone in the room, like ducking, trying to get away from the bird. And nobody knew where it was. Like one of the things that the DVDs have is sort of making up documentaries. So they talked about that whole fight scene in particular. The idea for that actually came from Douglas Adams' half brother, I think. I forget the guy's name, who was like 12 at the time, who said he was on the set and it was very hard for them to get the scene to work. Because Tom Baker had no idea where it would be. So he was just reacting to things where they were giving him cues. And I guess it was going on for a long time. They were having trouble. And he said that he told somebody, like, this is my idea. They said they were just giving him terrible stink eye for the rest of the shoot. This little monster just wasted everyone's time. But yeah, they mentioned specifically Tom Baker didn't know where the bird was supposed to be. So that's why... I guess it looked, but even so, it didn't have to be that long. It felt like it just kept going on and on. The bird's weapon was poop, right?
I don't know. I did not make a connection that it was poop, but that.
If you look at the way, okay, so K9's shooting his beam from his nose cannon, like he always does. The bird
also can spike things. I don't know that we ever saw that before, where it comes out because when he delivers the dead.
The bird,
parrot. He's like impaled on the thing, and then he drops it, and it goes back in. I don't. But right. Go on. I don't remember him seeing that.
Okay, so he's shooting with the lasers, and then I'll send you a still of it. The bird's weapon is coming from its butt area, and it's just these golden big
golden
balls
showers
dropping.
of
golden balls falling down. I don't know. It's great. Whatever it is, it's really
turns out you were watching a totally different movie. It was like, and then when the two dudes were just grabbing,
the cold medicine kicked in, and okay. So flying doom parrot with a extended fight scene.
I also have in my notes that Romana should have been on roller skates at least at one point. It's like, didn't it also at times feel like it was that? It was Xanadu.
Solar Babies? Was this it
was the Solar Babies. That ties into who's talking at the end of our podcast, friends, right? He was in that. Wasn't he?
Who?
The guy that talks at the end of our podcast.
Oh.
Was he?
Was it? I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
That might make sense.
I hate to derail this on something.
No, that's great, though. We're leaving you little clues.
But, like, with that whole outfit, like, again, with her pink lady thing, and then, if she just skated by a couple times on roller skates,
one leg up.
Okay.
Just one leg up, and she goes by. It does a pirouette and goes off.
It totally would have fit in
great. I don't know why that doesn't come up. Here's something fun. So how do K9 and the Doctor find the Mentiads? They're following their psychospore.
Yeah.
So they leave brain droppings wherever they go? Is that...
I didn't know if it was well, I mean, you probably remember more than me. I thought he could... his radar dish or whatever could feel their brain patterns coming out.
And maybe that's what it is, but they refer to it as psychospore. So, like, if you're tracking an animal in the woods, you look for its spore, which is its drop. Well, anyway, brain droppings. It was just a weird turn of phrase. Maybe that's the Douglas Adams part that I wasn't getting before. Sure.
And then you have that whole weird corridor, right? Where which scientifically, I guess would make sense because you would be still and everything around you would be moving. But one thing with that, when the doctor's tells Nemos is his name, right? Like, you can't possibly figure this out because he opens the thing and knocks on it and he gets it to work.
Right.
I did like the bit where Nemos tries to do it and he knocks and he can't get it to work and he actually does the old fish shake. Like, I can't
did he
figure
really?
this.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
This
That's
little
awesome.
half fish shake because he can't figure it out.
I think I was still in awe of his acting prowess when he goes into that hallway and runs and can't go forward. Man, that was convincing. That was good.
Oh, so good.
What was funny was that the doctor goes into that tunnel and it whisks him away, and he says, "I'll never be cruel to an electron and a particle accelerator again." That was cute. That was adorable.
Cute. That was
He's got
adorable.
little adorable things.
Lots of shots too. I have in my notes of just bored-looking enemies. Like there's lots of shot where they just cut away and it's a cigar just looking bored. Just like
that's why they had the mask.
I think it was maybe just the direction of the episode that was off for me.
Yeah,
because I love the story, the whole everything about it was cool, but there was like lots of weird choices.
Moments.
I think that moments or whatever that didn't quite seem to fit with the script, and maybe it's all because of budget too. Because this, I'm sure if you took this script and remade it now, it would be amazing.
Yeah. So go to our Kickstarter page because we're going to reshoot this.
Oh boy, I have before Bluetooth. They had suction cups. I guess that was
yes,
the suction cup that comes out of K9 to hook up. To
he's used that before though. That's cool. By the left frontal lobe of the sky demon, Ish. I actually had to write that down. That was pretty
there was
bad.
so much of that.
So I really like the whole. What did they call it? They didn't call it a holographic projector, but it was the projector that for the woman that turns out to be the queen. But they had the whole misdirection with the doctor having to walk the plank, but it really wasn't him.
Now,
I thought it was really cool.
That was great. That was like a great cliffhanger for episode 3.
Yep.
But one thing that when I saw that, like I have, known about walking the plank forever. Like since you were a little kid, you always knew pirates and walking the plank. And then watching that, I was like, that's got to be the most horrible way to go. Like being on a pirate ship and then somebody makes you just dumps you in the ocean. Like I'm already afraid of the ocean. I'm afraid of everything in the ocean. But like what a horrible way to go. And that was what kept me up the other night. And like I was talking to my wife and I'm like, God, what happens if I wake up tomorrow and I'm on a pirate ship? Because I don't know how reality really works.
Right, it could happen.
This all could just be temporary, and then I'm going to... And she's like, I've thought about being trapped in the ocean. It's horrifying, but never that previously I had been on a pirate ship, and it's always made me walk the plank. But anyway, it just felt like the most horrible, cruel way to go. So the more you know.
The more you know.
That, yeah. Would you worst death for you?
Oh, no. By any measure, it would have to be... cremation alive, because it's claustrophobia and then burning. Oh god, that's the worst.
So you would go burning over freezing? Freezing seems to be a terrible way, but that's much better than burning.
You go to sleep. Freezing, you just go to sleep. That's
everybody
fine. I love sleep. Sleep's awesome.
Everybody plays it up like it's oh, freezing's easy.
Yeah, I would take. Well, of the two, that drowning, forget that. You're aware of it the whole time.
Drowning is horrible because you would
suffocating. No way.
You have to watch as the ship is leaving.
Ugh, terrible.
And then how long before you start swimming? I think immediately I would just start sucking water down to end the nightmare because I don't want to be eaten by sharks.
I don't know if you can actually
night.
do that. The survival instinct, your adrenaline, you're not going to be able to do it.
It'd be horrible.
Hopefully, you'll be dropped someplace in the Arctic where it's really cold and you'd freeze first. What are we reviewing? Ways to die. Back to the
I'm sorry. The whole thing, I just watched like Walking the Plank, and it's just something that I've always known. It's always been a part of my life, but I never really thought about what it means.
The logistics of what actually happens.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. So now that we're off that, let's talk about how he keeps the dead planets in a little museum.
Oh, that was pretty awesome.
That was very cool.
Were they just chunks of the planet there's a remembrance, or were they the entire planet? Like they were the entire planet miniaturized down, like shrunken down. Because they said the amount of energy that's there kept in balance.
And the whole thing, exactly.
Right. Yeah. So they're black holes. They would be black holes if it wasn't for the
Yes.
Okay.
Which
really cool.
I also was unsure of because at the end with how they get out of it, wouldn't all those planets
create a black hole?
Black holes, right? Because the balance would go off.
I would think so.
And just destroy the whole universe. Because I didn't quite. If
the science holds, I think. Let me do a quick equation.
Carry the two, and oh my god, and the podcast cuts, and we all cease to exist, and we're all on pirate ships.
We're all pirate ships in the water. All right.
I was right. But that's sort of how he gets out of it, right? They put Califrax back in the planet and then expand it.
Yeah.
or something.
Sure.
And then it
Yes.
fills. I don't know. They
It was all a
explain it at
little
the end,
murky
but
at the
then
end.
I actually looked up on like Wikipedia and TARDIS, and like nobody covers like really what it means.
What actually happened?
Everybody's just like, yeah, and everything's fine. But
It's a thing we don't talk about.
The Queen was really cool. Like
Awesome.
the last moments of her life where she's frozen in that thing and it's sustaining this whole illusion.
Yeah.
That was it's almost a throwaway, not a throwaway scene, but it's a smaller, like you only see her in that stasis for a few minutes in the fourth episode, right? Did they discover her in the third or the fourth episode?
Third of the four. I don't have it. I
But
think
it
it's
was-
the third, yeah.
It was so
Sure.
cool. Like it was
Yeah.
just like the way the actress was, and I guess I had read too that
Yes.
about her teeth. Did you read the
Yes.
thing about her teeth?
I read-
Well, you explain that then.
Oh, no, just that the actress demanded to be paid extra to
'cause she
remove
took
her
her
false
teeth out.
teeth for the filming to make her, I guess, look older. She got the money, though, and gave
Yeah.
us a performance that stole America's heart.
It did. It really did. And the worlds.
I think so. Many worlds, in fact.
Many worlds.
So,
But anyway, yeah, that I thought that was just so cool.
hey, so there was a thing. I swear to God, I did not look this up first. It actually jumped into my memory on its own, and I confirmed it. But so the planet Califrax, did it remind you of anything?
Well, I saw the same thing that you
Yeah.
read. I didn't. It didn't. When I watched it, I wasn't like, oh, I remember
That's
that
not
from Stolen
exactly
Earth.
right. So I didn't remember that's exactly what it was. I was thinking of, I can't say it. Calfaraxis Rexaport, whatever. That
Right.
with the baby doll face giant alien. Their planet. I thought it was a reference to that, but actually, Califrax Minor was one of the planets that got disappeared in Davros's reality bomb. Whenever they're trying to balance all the planets in what was that? Which
Stolen
was
Earth?
that episode? Stolen Earth. That's the
Stolen
one.
Earth.
Which is kind of cool. Anyway, so I was like, oh, they reused that name. I guess that happens a lot.
Here's another note that I had. How smug were those Mentats when they knocked the guards out with the rocks? Do you remember that scene towards the end?
yes.
So they're waiting. There's like,
Oh, yes.
And again, it goes to my note about sort of the direction where they just stay on them, like just looking very self-congratulatory.
Like a dozen
at
of
each
them,
other
and they're just like
smiling.
looking at each other, being like,
Yeah, we just knocked all those
we
guys
totally
out
did
with rocks.
that, guys.
It's
we
like,
saw.
oh, you dummies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was kind of ridiculous. It was awkward and weird, but it was fine.
Yeah, then it all sort of wraps up quickly.
Yeah, it really did.
By the end.
Yeah.
Everybody dies. Pretty much everybody on the ship dies except for the captain and the queen. She puts an end to him when he finally turns on her.
Yeah.
And then they
Live happily
do their
ever
magic.
dead. Yeah.
And the doctor reprograms his... What's the deal? The doctor turns the captain's arm into a remote unit so that he could then pilot the planet to appear.
Sure.
Exactly.
It's one of the, you're right. Exactly. It's one of those. All right.
It all
cool.
works out, and
It all works out at the end.
They mention that the key of time is going to get flung off.
Yeah. Which
And
was the whole
they'll pick it
planet.
up.
And, yeah. Pick
Right.
up there. Oh, that was cool. I guess.
But I guess not as a whole planet, as the...
No, but the planet was the key.
It's so weird.
I know.
Like, the whole thing is just very weird, that the fact that the key was this ice planet.
Right.
Califrax, to begin
Yes.
with. Like,
Yes.
we're going to hide it in a planet.
Well, hide it as a planet.
As a planet, rather.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that I like the idea that the key is
Right.
not a hidden object. It is an object that
it's
is
the whole
hidden.
thing.
Yeah, that. I like that idea. It just, like we said earlier, it just feels kind of thrown away. It's just like, oh yeah, we forgot to do this.
Because when
thing.
it was flung off, was it still small? And what was holding it at that level? Why didn't it explode or expand? Was it a full planet? Did they just drive the TARDIS by and then wave their thing and the
And
planet
whoop,
shrinks?
comes in.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So anyway, 2 pieces of the puzzle are now complete.
Yep.
And that's it. And the end. And it's the end
Well,
of the episode.
there's another note here. Again, guys, if you don't want to listen to the podcast, you can just read tardis.wiki.com. Anyway, but there's a part. This is a thing that's
Don't
bothered
you
me.
dare ever say
you dare read.
once they figure that out.
So there's a thing in New Who, and I've mentioned this before, with the River song saying that the Doctor always leaves the parking brake on. That's what makes the sound when the TARDIS materializes. There is a note in this episode which just makes me very happy. I'm just going to read it. Well, basically, Romana is very by the book and literal in this case. She's like reading the manual, and this is how she pilots the TARDIS. So she's the one that says you have to engage those circuits and blah, blah, blah to have a smooth landing. So she's doing everything by the manual, and when the TARDIS materializes for her, it makes the sound as well. So... Yeah. River Song is full of BS, or was just teasing the Doctor, or we can just discount it because that always bothered me. The TARDIS makes that sound, and that's it. It is the sound of hope. They say that in one of the new season stuff. Like, it's the sound that lets people know that the Doctor's going to save them. So, anyway, to you, River Song. Is all I gotta say.
Throwing it down.
No, I love her, but that thing, that one line almost ruined the entire character for me. Anyway, so...
All right, so what else do you have? What else do you have on the pirate planet, Dan?
What else do I have? Not a whole lot. I mean, you got that little thing where the Doctor and Sir Isaac Newton.
Yeah, that was cool. Where he threw the apple at him.
He threw the apple, and Newton said to get out of my tree to clear off out of my tree.
That cracked me up. That was one of the
cute.
Funniest things
I really like that.
I had heard. Yeah,
and there was a reference.
That's very
and then he explained gravity at dinner afterwards.
Yeah,
there was a thing. When Prelix and the Doctor are in psychic communication.
Yes, we didn't talk about this.
So the entire time they have this mental walkie-talkie, and he's picturing something, and Prelix is describing it's a piece of metal forked at the end and bent in the middle. Right. And the Doctor says to Romana, it was a bent fork. Why would anyone want to bend a fork? I don't know. Was that a reference to like Uri Geller and like the whole psychic things of the 70s? It was maybe mentalists. Their thing was to like bend a spoon with their mind. Yes. And I thought it was just a reference because that Uri Geller was very popular in the late 70s, early 80s as an illusionist and mentalist before James Randi kind of revealed all that stuff. So I just wondered, was that like a sly reference to that?
Possible. I mean, they didn't mention that at all in the doc that I saw.
No,
that makes sense.
This was out of this brain right here.
Yeah, so you should have your own documentaries. But that whole scene anyway, where they are controlling the element inside of the engine with the three floating heads where they're talking and like,
oh my god, that's so good.
So that's the thing. So they to give some context. So all the mentalists or mentats, what are they called? Mentiads are outside. They're not strong enough to unlock the door.
Right.
So the Doctor's like, well, you don't need to unlock the door. You only need to be strong enough to lift
Project inside the room.
Inside and then lift this object.
Yeah, find something
they then
to destroy
use to destroy the thing. But like, what a great memory the Doctor has, where he remembers exactly where everything is.
I think he was tied with them. So they were So in the scene, it shows them superimposed over the inside of the room, the two Mentiads on one side, the Doctor on the other.
Yeah,
I think they were in communication.
He told them to
and they were showing him what was in the room because he was looking around the room with them.
Gotcha. Okay, that's
and it was like, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Oh, pick up that thing and go hit the whatever. Mm-hmm. The special effects of that
was pretty amazing.
So atrocious. It was just like a wrench.
Wait, what?
No, it was real. I'm sorry. That was all real. Just picked up, moved over to the thing, pause, and then whoosh, it hits the thing and explodes. There'll be a little special animation on the show notes page for this, guys, because I loved it.
Yeah, that was like, and you just see their giant superimposed heads floating over the thing as it just looks like a piece of color form that's just moving around and slamming into the object.
Oh, it was so good. So bad, so good. Anyway, so that's all I got. Loved. Yeah, I really did love this episode. Cool. And like I said, the captain was that actor was so over the top, but I think it was one of those things that came
subtlety or something.
It came around again for me, and I was able just to laugh at it, and it didn't take me out of it so much. It was hard at the beginning because it's like, oh boy, this is going to be rough.
Yeah,
but
I also like the costume didn't help. Like it just felt so.
It was a good idea. I liked the whole cyborg thing, and he was reconstituted by the Queen to.
I hate anytime you have something over someone's eye.
It was the under the nose. You're right. It's the around the face, under the nose, and it looks.
But even in general, when you've got like some kind of thing over someone's eye, I think it's just so.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, unless you're the bad guy in The Last Starfighter, where you got one of those little movable red things, you know what I'm talking about?
Yes,
we've locked onto
of course I know what that is.
Yeah, the gravitational
flips, it comes right down. It like almost hits him in the eye.
Yeah, and then he says, "We die."
But that guy has the charisma to pull off an eyepiece like
he
that.
Does. You're right. He's got those weird pointy things on his face that really
they're not weird,
magnify.
dude. He kind of embraces the weirdness, so he really carries
This
it
has
off.
got really weird.
So on our next review of this Last Starfighter movie, let's just keep doing reviews of this Last Starfighter over and over again.
Movie. I love that movie. I've mentioned,
But, like,
to you,
weekly, I
think
wanna
on this
do a
podcast,
review.
I have the comic book adaptation of the Last Starfighter. That was one of my favorite movies.
Adaptation of the movie, not a...
Did you see somebody made the arcade machine?
No.
Somebody made the game, so you can download
Yes.
the game for free, or at least unless somebody pulled it for some reason. I think it's only on Windows, but somebody actually made the cabinet.
Oh.
Exactly like the movie, and then it runs the game. Yeah, if you look it up, it
Is
was
there
on
actual game?
IO9
Is there like a games of the game? Like I don't
they
recall
made a
you
game.
really see a whole lot of the game in the movie.
Well, I'm assuming they designed elements to it, but it has the same enemies and the same UI and all that stuff.
Oh, that's great.
So Doctor, the last Doctor Who, Starfighter.
Fighter.
We are covering Stones of Blood next, which has a great title. Not seen this episode, so I'm interested to know what it's all about. I actually don't know anything other than another segment is in it, and I believe we talked about when we did Ribos Operation that we're going to meet the Black Guardian in this episode, in this story.
Cool. Yeah,
that'll be on June 15th. So if you are enjoying the podcast, please rent it, I guess, or buy it. It's on Amazon and iTunes and all that stuff.
Yeah, do that.
Stones of Blood. You have anything else, Dan? We should wrap this up.
No, sir. I think that's it.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all. You can find me on ericrissom.com, where you can find all my contact information and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff.
And his comic books. And you can contact me on Twitter at DanJNJ.
Yep.
Or,
we got a P.O. Box now. P.O. Box 2131 Redback, New Jersey, 07701.
We'll put that in the show notes.
We've got an email.
We have a website.
Doctor Who Show at gmail.com. Did we have anything new with the website? And Dan did a lot of back-end work.
You guys won't even see any difference here. But now what we're doing is when you come to the site, the most recent episode will be the first thing you see. That has our iTunes kind of graphic there that has a still from the episode, the logo and the name. But if you click into the episode, we're going to try to provide a little extra stuff in there as well. So besides being able to listen to the show right there on the page, mobile or on your desktop, we'll have a few other things there for funsies.
And one thing, too, for people listening that are fans of the show, if you go to the schedule page, you're going to see all of the upcoming stories that we're going to do. At this point, because we're way off whether or not it's on a streaming service, obviously because there are no episodes on streaming services, if there's a story that we should be covering or that you think is great that we should look at, just leave her a comment or email us or contact us on Twitter or wherever. Yeah. Because I know we're very light on Colin Baker stories and Sylvester McCoy stories.
Right.
Like we
were going by kind of top 10 lists to compile this and then what was available on streaming. So I'm very much open to change on that because I want to know what the best things are to watch.
Yeah, so let us know.
Even if not the best, worst, or
if it's terrible too. If it's like this is the worst thing you've ever seen in your life, I kind of want to watch that too.
I will suffer through that.
That's it. Right? We got anything else?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Also on that page. I know. I'm going to keep going. You can buy. There's links to buy DVD copies. If you click on the link, you go to an affiliate link through Amazon, and we should get something out of that.
Jelly
I believe
babies.
once you're in the link, once you follow the link, if you buy something else, I think it still counts to us, right? Does it still carry
buy all of
the
go to the olddoctorwhoshow.com, click a link to buy something.
and
just
start
get your
buying
groceries,
things.
get whatever.
Your groceries.
What was that P.O. Box number again? Oh, good.
Good boy. All right, so that's it. We'll
Thanks,
see
everybody.
You guys again and girls again on the 18th, right? June 15th. 15th. Whatever, doesn't matter. Dan J and J. Dan J and J at twitter.com.
That probably won't work.
That's it, isn't it? Dan.
But not at twitter.com. I mean, that's not my email address.
J at twitter.com.
Yeah, no, when you say it out loud like that, that's right.
It totally makes sense.
Twitter.com.
All right, let's get out of here before we ruin ourselves.
Too late.
Bye. All right.
world's the same. I am to blame. She used my head like a revolver. But the world's the same. Well, it's alright. Love is what you want. Flying stars to take me away, daughter. Well, it's alright. Love is what you want. Flying stars to take me away, daughter. Dragon head, machine of lead, Cadillac king, dancing in the midnight. Dragon head. Daniel's queen, the dream. She used my head like a revolver. The world's the same. Well, it's alright. Love is what you want. Flying souls to take me away, your daughter. Well, it's alright.
Where's my robot? You know?